Well, I want to come back to you about how you apply all of this in the region. But first of all, I want to come to Ponce and see whether we can get a picture of what this 21st century entrepreneur really looks like. So first of all, just say a little about your own background, Ponce, and Outliers, what it does and how you got involved in it.
So first of all, I'd like to say how humbled I am to be representing Learner's Voice, and how firmly I believe in this initiative that we students are part of this discussion on WISE. So I hope I do them proud. But enough about them. Let's start talking about me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was just more than a year ago when, together with a group of other students from my university, we started helping out NGOs because they needed help. In a country where about almost 30% is the poverty rate, these NGOs really do good work. They help out in health, they fight human trafficking, they empower the youth. But these selfless servants also need help, and we just felt that we can provide it. So we business students say that we are in the service of those who serve. We empower them with market-based approaches, with marketing, finance, whatever basically they need. So now we are funded by Starbucks Foundation, by Visayan Forum Foundation, which is a local NGO, and the Philippine Business for Social Progress, and of course, the Global Changemakers Program.
So you did it. And from your perspective, as a graduate of all of that, what needs to be done to make entrepreneurship more attractive and more exciting to people across this region so that people will follow in your footsteps?
Well, let me tell you the story of a first date I had about just 3 months ago. So I was on a date talking about what I do and passionately about the outliers. Then my date said, isn't this what you're doing because you can't get into PNG? Mm-hmm. So then I completely agree with what Mr. Husseini said, how it's a mindset and how it's not cool to my peers, at least. Coming here in Qatar, for example, I was greeted with a woman holding a WISE placard.
What happened with the date?
I was greeted by by a Filipina holding the WISE placard, and to the hotel with Filipinos there and amazing Filipinos working here in Qatar. And it just shows that because it shows the statistic that 10% of the Philippine population, or nearly 9 million, are abroad to find work elsewhere. Because in the Philippines, job creation isn't a priority for most. In fact, my mother is part of that statistic. When I was 3 years old, she left, and she is a registered social worker from a good university, but now currently works as a factory worker in Japan. I guess it is about setting, we are called outliers, by the way, because we felt like random statistical errors. Everybody wanting to do things that way, and we felt like, what the hell, we are mistakes, apparently. So, but it's just a funny way for us to tell that story, that we wanted to do something different. So I guess they're breaking the mindset. But I would like to point out this aspect of entrepreneurship that is very important. I guess when I started accepting that, fine, I have to do this because now I'm here in WISE. The acceptance of failure and how it's okay. Because I watched this TED Talk about education, and this guy, I'd love to quote him, but I can't find him again, the video. So, but what he was talking about was the educational system, how it was rewarding failure, and how it was creating more students that probably are afraid of failing, because when you create intelligent mistakes, you aren't rewarded. Instead, you are punished, and I guess that's what's happening in the Philippines.
Thank you. So, Arif, if you apply that thinking to this region, people say, I mean, the numbers differ, but maybe we need to prepare people for 75 million jobs. Her Highness said 50, but these are high figures, whatever they are. Now, can you imagine replicating the kind of experience that Ponce has been talking about. Not everybody has to be an entrepreneur, not everybody's got to make $1 million, but can you imagine creating an environment in which young people do come through great schools, do acquire these higher order capabilities, do find ways to open up entrepreneurship and go into business? Is that achievable at the scale that's needed?
Yes. Yeah. We need a deep belief in high risk, high return.
Mm-hmm.
When I left the high tech, I used to work in a very fancy company as senior engineer. And when I took this high risk to reach the high return, and I said, okay, I want to create jobs, not to seek for job, to seek a job. My ex-wife in that time said, you must be crazy. To leave a company with a very nice salary, as senior engineer, it's respectable in our society. No one will call you by your name. All of the people will call you as engineer X, Y, Z. And to go to create jobs for other people through social entrepreneurship or now through industrial entrepreneurship that I have. And in that time, I worked to register my last patent for user product. And everyone laughed on that. Because when you have something as a result of the traditional path of education, it not necessarily will lead you to create jobs. And now in our region, the employers are government or traditional private sector, and it's done. How much they can hire new employees. Government in Palestine, they have 150,000 employees, most of them in the security branch, so they are earning less than the average salary in any country. And the private sector working in traditional production, so as well, how much they can go forward in this. Now, to create new jobs, it needs a real entrepreneurship that connected to the interest of the people. You could not just come and say, I have a dream I want to achieve. It should be connected to the daily life of people, to the improvement of lives, and to a real need in the society, which bring you to the problem-solving skills. Education, I'm returning to education because I have a very nice story on this, because they kicked me out from school when I was in the second grade. My teacher in that time asked, what a profit, what positive things you can take from a tree. So, all of the very good students, my classmates, they answered, food, fruits, shadow, wood. And I said, my mother really tied the rope on the tree to dry the clothes. And then they said my teacher said, okay, it's against the environment. It's not really politically correct. It's not very nice question. So when I gave my argument, which related to the need of the rope and drying the clothes, the educational system could not accept that, and even the society could not accept that. So to have this change in the culture and the mind, for being able to create new jobs, it's not slogans. It's not just to come and say, I need 5% of the society to be entrepreneurs. Everybody can make it. No. You have to have a very long process, sophisticated one, which can lead you from having idea, having this, this power, this need to success. It's not ambition. It's not willing to be willing to success. It's to have this need to success and make it, and to believe that it will be happen one day. In our societies, in our region, in MENA region, the respectable one who earns more money, yes, or he has much education, not who has this opportunity to create something new. So, if we want to be able to go in parallel with this demographic need, 400,000 jobs will be needed in the coming years, we have to work today to convince people to implement, not to convince people to be convinced.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, I think interesting things have come out of what the two of you have said, particularly that this notion of building your school life around solving real-world problems turns out to have enormous implications for driving an entrepreneurial mindset, because it's exactly those real-world problems that need to be attacked in professional life and to some extent monetized. And it seems to me that's what you're doing. But before we open it up to the audience, I just want to look at one other area which seems to me to be important. We've heard a great deal in recent times, and I'm sure we've all been involved in it, we three and others in this room, about the partnerships that need to be put in place, the public-private partnerships, to drive the reform of education in this sort of direction. And I think we now have many examples of what these partnerships can look like, bringing together government and education and social entrepreneurs and businesses like my own. But I wonder whether, from the lens of this region, Aref, you've seen any particular things that you think are lessons that we should hang on to, things that we shouldn't forget as we go about this kind of project in future?
Oh, allow me to be very direct and frankly speaking. Governments should lead this process upon logics and not upon interests. Because in our countries, sharks, big companies, they are leading the state's strategies for entrepreneurship according to their interests. I am not sure if that guy in that village who really entrepreneur has this opportunity to do something if it's not really connected to the shark's interests. And this is what happened. When we have weak governments and policies, because it's donor-driven, somehow, sometimes it's politics, conflicts, internal politics, and no one has this clear vision for how we would see our country after 20 or 30 years, like what happened in Malaysia, for example, or Singapore, or even other countries like India, China, and different countries. You don't have this vision from the government. So this brings you to a lack of trust between public sector, private sector, and now the most significant sector, which is NGOs and civil society organization. So we have first to build this trust between the three parties, and we have to find the common interest, not only one-side interest in developing entrepreneurship in any country, actually.
Thank you. That's terrific.